Why is it important in this day and age to minister to moms?
Moms juggle a lot, you know. They have the careers sometimes, they have the family, they have the housekeeping and all the extracurricular activities that they want their kids to be involved in, and it puts a lot of stress on them.
You know, like communion classes and their confirmation classes and all that kind of stuff. Usually it's the mother who is involved with that aspect of it. So if you don't give a mother the food she needs to nourish her family spiritually, then it just becomes a process. It doesn't become a way of life.
I think there's a lot of pressures that moms today face, financial pressures in terms of body image. You know, you need to lose your body fat immediately after your pregnancy.
You still haven't
and even the pressure, you know, as soon as you have a child, you need to get back to work right away. There's all these pressures. People saying, you know, children aren't really a blessing, they're an inconvenience. So there's all these things that kind of throw your priorities off.
And and you're bombarded with messages, like as you said, like we have so many things to do, and then sometimes we don't have the time to reflect, okay, what am I going to teach my kids? I'm going to pick from here. And Mass is a great place, but sometimes you don't get enough on what to pass on to your children. And you get the media that's bombarding your children with TV shows, the radio. So you don't want them to just pick in on that. And the Mothers Group does that. It's like a special quiet place where you don't listen to all the other voices. And you can just listen to other moms in your faith, and you say, oh, this is what I believe. Oh, this is what I was missing. And that trickles down to your family.
And our role as mothers, there is one. And, you know, and it's not the same as the role of the father. So sometimes we need to be reminded of...
I think that's so important and distinct, that the mom has a distinct role.
And it's beautiful.
And it's beautiful, and it's distinct, and it's different, and it's not superior to fatherhood. But there's so much gender confusion. And, you know, I get really frustrated, too, with sort of movements towards, okay, we need to minister to the family. Yes, we have to minister to the family, that's true, but the mother's role is distinct and it's different. And I think that motherhood as a vocation has been lost. And so when I say motherhood is a vocation, what does that mean to you? Like, what does that elicit? Any thoughts on
It's our responsibility as mothers to pass the faith down to our children. Because without faith, it's very hard to sustain yourself in this world today, everything that we go through.
But all those little things that you do to teach that faith to your children when they're young and as they get older, it does stick with them. Mm-hmm. And it helps them once they're a teenager making tougher choices, or even as an adult.
And what drives me crazy is when people said, well, I'm done mothering. You know, like they're in high school now, I'm done. But, you know, my mother mothered me very much when I had my first child, you know, and she mothered me in a different way. So motherhood is a vocation. What does that mean to anyone else?
So a job, you walk in, you walk out, you've left your job. But a vocation, you carry as who you are. You go home, you're still that professional. In this case, a mother. Wherever you go, even if your kids are grown up, as a grandmother, you're still a mother. It's your vocation, your calling, who you are, your core.
I think the marriage is sort of like the first step of making a vocation. That's a sacred bond. And then when you have a family, that just even becomes more cemented and more sacred. And I think in our times, that whole idea of something sacred has completely lost. Mm-hmm. That we see it as children as an appendage, children as a fashion ornament, children as something that, you know, everybody else is doing, so let's just have kids. But it is a responsibility, and you can mother a 5-day-old, 5-month-old, 5-year-old, 50-year-old. You never stop. It continues until you breathe your last breath, and hopefully something that you have passed on to your kids will keep in their brain and in their heart, and they will still be learning from that little pearl of wisdom you've left them with.
But it even goes beyond that, that we have a duty before God, right? I always say to my kids, who are now university students, is like, when I die, I'm going to have a given account of how I treated you, and I have to give an account to whether I did certain things. And so long as, while you're under this roof, and I know I got to report to the big guy, I want to be prepared to enter into my eternity with a clear conscience. Turning to motherhood as a vocation is trying to sort of awaken in moms this notion that our children have souls, and as mothers, we have to feed those souls, and not only take care of their temporal needs, Any other thoughts?
If you think of it as a vocation, you say, I'm the mother first, and then because of that, what is going to be my decision? And sometimes it makes it easier, and it puts things in priority for your children. So, if I have a decision of how to spend my time, think back to my vocation. Okay, what's my vocation? I'm a mother. I'm going to do that first, and then I'll do everything else.
No, that's beautiful. And so when a mom calls and says she can't come to a mother's meeting because their child has a fever, I'm like, well, good, don't come to the meeting. You should be mothering first, right? And one of the reasons I think that it's almost, I would say it's like a national emergency to minister to moms today, is that if, like my mom, for example, came from a Polish culture where there were, everybody in her community was a role model of what it meant to be a Catholic mom. So the woman across the street, the woman at the bakery, she lived in a Polish culture, so to raise her children Catholic was almost second nature, right? But when you take a look at Canada now, the United States now, there are so many different faiths, there are so many different cultures that I would dare to say that a lot of people haven't even met a practicing Catholic mom, right? And just because you go to a Catholic church and just because you go to Mass doesn't necessarily mean that you're practicing the faith in the fullest, right? And so, I see hosting a mother's group as almost, I think it's a bit tacky to say, you're showcasing this is what it looks like to be Catholic. And I remember one mom from one of our mother's groups, she had come from Croatia, and she said when she came to Canada, she says she thought everybody was just like crazy. She goes, doesn't anyone go to church here? Is everyone obsessed with sex? Is everyone obsessed with buying things? And then she said when she went into mother's group, she finally found home, right? Well, there are other women that exist out there that value some of the same things, What are some of the things that you love about being a mother's group leader? What are some of the things that you absolutely love about it? Anyone?
The connection with the moms. It's a different connection and a different level. Okay, this is our time. We're going to pray. We're not going to criticize anybody right now. We're just going to have our time, our gossip. We're just going to sit. I'm not going to check what you're wearing, what your kids did, and anything. It's not comparative. It's more like, I am here. I'm present. They tell me, I love a few moms, they told me, this is my vitamin. I need to come here. It's my spiritual vitamin.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's my spiritual vitamin because I'm tired sometimes and I cannot even make it. But once I make it, there's a peace that comes out of here.
And it's a scramble at the last minute to get out the door and have everything that I need. But it's the same thing. As soon as you get there, you just relax, and it's incredible the feeling that you get from being there. And it's not just the women, the mothers in our group. As leaders, we benefit so much from that too.
And I also think just meeting like-minded moms, where you can share your passion, you can share your faith, and they get it. Because you can't do that in the office, you can't do that with any and everybody. So when you have a group of women that knows Jesus and loves Jesus, you can be open, and I like that.
You don't have to defend it.
Yeah.
And so it's helpful, right? It's helpful that their goal is for you to get to heaven as well, and their goal is, your holiness. And I remember when I first had, my daughter Monica, and I was running around from gymboree to gymnastics to dance to this, and I thought, okay, just because we have kids doesn't mean we have a heck of a lot in common, right? And sometimes I'd be sort of sitting in the hockey arena after having my son, and then and I'm like, okay, this woman's talking about her third marriage, her fourth divorce. This one's talking about how, she polished off a bottle of wine last night, and I just always felt like a fish out of water in different communities. And then I found in starting a mother's group, I'm like, oh my gosh, just like this feeling of being at home, So, and the moms in the moms group end up loving you in a particular way that sometimes you don't even think you deserve, but it's like, okay, I'll take it. Yeah.